Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Learn by LOCI. Woo, woo, woo. This is a podcast where we explore the science and technology that shape our world, our thinking, and our safety. I'm Joni McKervey, Head of Communications at LOCI, and with me is Samantha Mathews, LOCI's founder and CEO.
Hi.
Hi.
We're doing it. It's our first one.
Yes, so exciting.
And
speaking of beginnings and starting, I thought we could do the first thing we should do is explain LOCI, what we do and who we are.
Yeah, my favorite thing to do with the team is to ask everyone how they explain LOCI to their mom. So how would you describe LOCI to Teresa?
Well, with my mom, I try to keep it simple, but not too dumbed down. She's super smart, but I know she'll tune me out if I get too tech about it. So I tell her that we make safety that's interactive and memorable, like two things that we all know it's currently not. And what that means for her is instead of waiting for an emergency actually happens to realize she doesn't know where to evacuate or where a fire extinguisher is, that she's already got that knowledge in her brain, like stored as a memory because she played a LOCI safety training game. And she likes that because she can do it on her phone and she loves her phone.
Oh my God, moms love their phones. That's great.
Yeah. How do you describe LOCI to your mom?
Oh, Cheryl. Well, my mom's a teacher and she's an amazing teacher. She always made everything into a fun learning game growing up. That's probably where we got it from. And I tell her that safety managers are just like teachers, but they don't get access to the same tools. So we created a platform that lets them turn their safety information into short and memorable games. So rather than just, pretend to watch a flight attendant, imagine you had to play a game where you draw from your seat to the exit and answer some questions. And yeah, my mom loves her phone too. And she loves games. So that she understands it from that perspective. She's known that for forever, where if you make something interactive and fun and engaging, it'll be more memorable.
Oh, there's Cheryl DNA in LOCI. I love that.
There it is, definitely. She's also like our number one bug tester. So shout out Cheryl Mathews.
Yeah. Goes to her. So grateful. Nice. So now let's approach this from a different angle. And I'm going to ask you to pretend that I'm a VC with a very, very big fund. Ooh. And why would I want to write you a check?
Ooh, well, you would want to write me a check if you're a certain type of person. You're the type of person that thinks that knows that we're at a fork in the road for humanity. Like we're either going to continuously optimize systems for our mobile phones and have it so the people follow the phones, or we're going to make programs and systems that are designed for people to understand, the human brain to understand, that increase cognition. Right now, we're offloading a lot of our innate abilities to these devices. Things like finding and memory. We're just like, it'll all get stored on the phone. But that has a lot of consequences. People are disoriented really easily. People panic in emergency situations. So if you're the type of person that thinks the supercomputer is up here and not in your hand, and if you're the type of person that likes to know their own way, then you'll probably want to invest in our company, because we're solving a big, juicy problem, and that's the problem of human panic. And it's a very expensive problem that costs the world trillions each year. People being lost, tramplings from false emergencies. Like there's an endless amount of ways that we pay for people being disoriented. And so you'd want to write us a check if you think that this is a very interesting problem to solve, like us.
Yeah, definitely. That's the point about how big this problem is, how widespread it is, that we're not using our brains and we're disconnected from our environments. And I think that's like a really great point about what LOCI does, is connect people to where they are. Really,
exactly.
Yeah. Well,
the right information at the right time. Really, like the way that I think the easiest way to describe what LOCI does is simulation training at scale. Simulation training that's normally for, first responders and people in high risk situations. It's the best type of training because it trains away your panic response. But this is a way to give everybody, us regular folks, the simulation training we need to stay safe wherever we go.
Yeah, ambulance drivers and our moms.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, shut up and take my money.
Got it.
Okay, so then the next question I have for you is like, where did you get the idea for Loci in the first place? Like, why safety?
Well, I was working on 3D systems on the web for quite a few years and trying to figure out what the most interesting problems to solve were with the ability to 3D scan an environment and meet somebody inside that scanned environment. We played around a lot with festival planning and event planning. And really what we found was that safety was the biggest concern on the top of everyone's mind, especially in any type of place where you have a large one-time gathering. And I knew from spending so much time in these scanned places what a deep impact it had on my memory, and being able to sort of pre-visualize paths or pre-visualize what something was going to look like really helped me make better decisions when I was in the place. And so one day I was standing at a conference waiting for an elevator, and I saw an evacuation map, and I was like, does anyone look at these things? Like, people are paying for these to be put up everywhere and no one's looking at them, because what it would require is for you to close your eyes, picture the building from a 2D to a 3D, and then picture yourself exiting it. And that requires a lot of cognition, that requires a lot of focus, and people just don't do that. And I knew from my experience in creating these 3D environments from physical places that I could create sort of a pre-visualization or a walkthrough from where a person was to the exit quite easily. And it dawned on me that, what a cool thing that might be. What if we could replace an evacuation map? What if everybody could see their exits before they went into a place? How would that change how people interact in buildings, and what a fun problem to solve. So we came up with the idea for exit test, a way to pre-visualize exits. And we were really lucky to have C-SPAN Shipyards in Vancouver offer us a building to test this in, to scan and create a pilot in with their staff. And we did all that. We got it all set up. And then, it's funny when you think you've picked, like, I thought I'd picked of all the things I'd been testing, planning festivals, things like that. I'm like, safety, that's never going to go away. This is future proof, right? Like, there's all these like horrible things happening in the world, but like, people will always pay for safety. It's like, well, yeah, but evacuation training, like, did you think about a pandemic? Because then all of a sudden the pandemic hit and like, no one is evacuating anywhere. Everyone that we were about to test was at home in their pajamas. And I was like, so that's where we
it was like everyone was the opposite of evacuating.
Yeah.
Everyone was staying put.
Yeah, exactly. It was an interesting time because, and safety is always like, it is future proof, but there's different types of safety. There's different situations, and you can always think you're super prepared, but there's always going to be something that catches you off guard.
Yeah. So I remember that pandemic hit, and you really, the big question that you wrestled with specifically, and like as a team, we wrestled with like what to do, right?
Yeah, because we built all this momentum for, evacuation training, right? And when you're in a startup, it's lean, like your decisions, they cost money, and you can't afford to make too many wrong ones. And it's also really challenging to build a competent and functioning team that's got a lot of momentum. And that's exactly where we were. We had just had this amazing team of developers and people that were really working well together in Loci. And it became one of those things where it's like, do we furlough workers? Like, do we take a break, take a beat and see what happens? Or do we lean in?
Right.
Yeah. See what we can do with our system,
I remember that time. It was, those early days of the pandemic, they were so uncertain, like for everybody, about everything. But for us and our specific team, we were, kind of on this edge. And it was a bit of a cliffhanger for a minute. And I think we're also going to end there with a cliffhanger because, we want you to tune in next time to hear what Sam's decisions were in the face of a global lockdown, and discover what we did with our safety focused products over the 18 months of the pandemic, because we have something really special to share. And I want to thank everybody for listening to our inaugural episode of Learn by Loci. This is a new monthly podcast and newsletter that is all about making your world a better, safer place using the most powerful computer of all time, your brain.